Hello, darling. I thought you'd never get rid of that girl.
What are you doing here?
Waiting for you.
What's the hospital?
I didn't like it there.
How did you get here?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Welcome back to Ookum Spookum Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tara, Lord of Hatred and Darkness, and across from me is my other host,
Sarah, the Lordess of Love and Light, and being very, very sleepy.
Yeah. Man, I finally got on a sleep med that works for me, so now I can finally rejoin the bliss of being able to have a full night's sleep.
I envy that.
It's, man, don't worry, I'll lose it the
No.
second I hit menopause.
I don't want you to lose it. Just because I want it for myself doesn't mean I want to rob it from you.
Fair enough. I can appreciate that. Speaking of robbing, actually, today's episode is a little nautical for you.
Get nautical.
A little nautical. Sounds so dumb. That's like some RuPaul shit. Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it could be. That's about it for all the boat songs I know.
What is that?
So it's like a song from I think the 70s.
Is that the one that our boss likes?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I know like the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I know that one.
Okay. I also know the Wellerman.
They're none of them very good. So
yeah,
I
gotta say, you know what? I'm sorry.
I like the Beach Boys because they were very, very depressed.
Yeah.
That's kind of my wheelhouse when it comes to nautical themed songs.
Yeah.
Sloop John B. Badass song.
Who the fuck is Sloop Jumbie?
Sloop John B. It's a song by the Beast Boys.
Oh.
I almost said Beastie Boys. By the Beach Boys. God.
All right, let's get started. All right, we are cruise haters here. The horrifyingly gigantic floating morgues, toilets, and all-around nautical petri dishes that sail the high seas for our entertainment. No, thank you. I used to always associate boating with like luxury, relaxation, like the Titanic ballrooms or, you know, a lady with a parasol floating down the Nile in the African Queen. But all of that beauty and luxury hides frequent bouts of dysentery, which actually did happen through most of the filming of that movie. Cruises are not yachts or dinghies. They are the megalophobia-inducing resorts of the sea, but they were not always that way. Join us both tonight as we double team the horrors of the cruise ship.
Ugh.
When did you finally become like cruise hater? What was the turning point for you?
Okay, so I've never been on a cruise. I've been on like private boats.
I've only ever been on one dude's boat.
That sounds creepy.
And some fishing boats.
That sounds creepy.
Well, it wasn't weird. We just went boating at Lake Anne.
Oh, okay. No, I mean I have some experience on boats, but I have never been on a cruise. The cruise hating thing has come up in the past few years, really, is when I started to kind of look under the rock, you know, when you look under the rock and all little bugs are squirming around.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was. You know, I think my parents are really into the concept of like the Viking River cruise. That looks lovely.
My dad was really into that as well.
I think that looks like a lovely time spent, but I do not think that when you're talking about the huge, ridiculous floating metropolises, that's not the same thing, right?
No, not even slightly. It's like going to the mall in the ocean for fun. I
do have this weird repeating dream, like a recurring dream, where I'm getting ready to go on a Disney cruise with my family, which is really weird because you're 48.
You're not a Disney person.
I'm not a Disney adult.
I don't even think you've ever told me like a Disney movie that you like.
I like Alice in Wonderland and the original Fantasia, and I think that's like end of list.
You've never seen Fantasia 2000?
No.
Why would I? It's really good.
No, but the one I like has like the Nutcracker in it and all that stuff.
But this one's it has like Mother Nature surviving after a fire. There's whales. And there's a bunch of like butterflies made out of paper.
Okay.
We might have to watch it. I feel like I could turn you around on that one.
I'm not against it. I haven't seen it, but I do like the one that I like.
To be fair, I don't think I've seen that Fantasia either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Disney's got to make more of those. Those were cool. Too bad. Anyway, back to cruises. So, it is hard to believe that once the idea of going to sea for fun was a foreign concept to most people before the 20th century. If you were going on a boat before that point, it was simply for A to B travel or for deliberate lifestyle. Sailor, pirate, or traveler. And if you were a traveler, it was usually a one-way trip. Crossing the Atlantic took 2 months by Mayflower.
Dear God.
However, in the 1800s, one man had an idea, not for cruises necessarily, but an idea to fill in the blank ad space of his paper. Arthur Anderson, co-founder of what would be P&O Cruises, and that is the Peninsular and Oriental Steam Navigation Company, which is why we are going to use P&O for the continuation of this show. Imagined a cruise to the Scottish Isles. A few decades went by, and some small mail ships began to take double duty as transport vessels. One in 1840 calling itself the world's first transatlantic service, and it carried passengers from England to the Mediterranean, which I don't think is transatlantic.
No.
That's like trans-U-turn.
I don't know. I didn't make it up.
I don't know. Also, the way that we, picture geography is really incorrect. You can't really, correctly represent a spherical object on a flat map. That's why Antarctica looks so fucking big.
I thought the Earth was flat.
Please don't say that ever again.
Some conspiracies are true. That one is not.
No. 1881, P&O would convert one of their ships, the Ceylon, into the world's first cruise liner. The Ceylon would take passengers from Liverpool all around the world, the world's first international cruise. However, by 1900, competition began cropping up. The very first dedicated cruise liner was the Prinzessin Victoria Louise, built in Germany and launched for the Hamburg America line. Hamburg America Line had done a pleasure voyage before, a 58-day excursion, including the Mediterranean and the Near East on the Augusta Victoria, despite much pushback. Earlier cruises were a success, but ocean liners weren't really suited to the job as they had too few amenities to entertain guests on long voyages. They were also multi-class with a large steerage area unsuited to cruising. Steerage, by the way, is the lowest class on a ship where most poor and average people would bunk. What deck space there was mostly covered to protect from the Atlantic Sea's violent weather. The Augusta Victoria was also too big to dock at most ports, and as such, Prinzessin Victoria Louise was introduced. She was a thing of beauty, designed to look like a private steam yacht with white hulls and a raked clipper bow instead of the standard straight bow. I tried to explain this to you using hands and pictures, and you were like, no one can see this, right? And it's the best way, the original ships used to basically just, the fronts used to be straight up and down. The fancy ones that they created now are at a slight angle. Okay. I don't know why, it just looks fancier.
Okay.
Most of her cruises were from Hoboken, New Jersey.
Nice.
Boo.
No, leave Jersey alone.
Why do we like New Jersey?
Okay, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no. I just didn't know if I wanted to get into it, but I have a thing for guys from Jersey. Okay, now
one of my first boyfriends as an adult was from New Jersey. And
That's
that
what I'm
man
saying.
Drove like it. Anyway.
I think they're cute. I just think they're cute.
To the Caribbean, as well as the Mediterranean, Black Sea, Norway, the Baltic Sea, and eventually from Hamburg to San Francisco. Prestigious and luxurious to the max. She hosted many events honoring famous individuals such as Kaiser Wilhelm II, Prince Henry of Prussia, and Cipriano Castro, President of Venezuela. Sadly, Prinzessin Victoria Louise only sailed for 5 years, running aground on a coral reef in Jamaica. Captain, or sometimes referred to as Master H. Brunswig, we also will not be referring to anyone by that title past this point, 38, thought he had spied the Port Royal Lighthouse, which was in fact the Plum Point Lighthouse. This area had experienced recent volcanic activity that changed the seabed, so certain places were at different depths than what was on their charts. He hit them at full speed, and even with the engines running full astern, he could not free the ship. He sent a boat ashore to report the incident, retired to his room, and then shot himself.
Wow, I was not expecting that turn.
Yep. The remaining officers were then forced to help passengers off the ship and into local hotel accommodations. Several ships were sent to help her, but none succeeded, and the ship was declared a total loss. Princess Victoria Louise was later then swallowed up by the earth in a submarine earthquake, never to be seen again. The captain was found negligent, and a new Victoria Louise was later created to replace the Prinzessin.
You think they'd want to rename it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a curse kind of thing, because I don't think there are any other Titanics.
No, of course there aren't.
I know that sounds dumb, but like they used the name again this time.
People were not as smart back then.
I guess. Perhaps they just wanted to not be superstitious. But they're sailors. Those are the most superstitious people on the planet.
True.
Soon, names like Cunard and White Star were leading the cruise line charge, with the first on-deck swimming pool introduced in 1907. However, ships were still very much divided by class, with first class, second class, and steerage. Steerage were still very much going from point A to point B, but their wealthy upstairs neighbors were enjoying a la carte dinners, dancing, and lifts between decks. Steerage were often told to bring their own food and plates.
Okay, that's gotta suck being in between the two of those.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I don't really know why people struggle with, like, class as a concept, or just in terms of oppression, because, like, you read shit like this. Thus,
A lot of people have been sold a bill of goods for a long time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no kidding. Thus, as all things have a boom, they have a dark age, and that began with the tragedy of the Titanic. Yes, we are talking about the Titanic, the most famous cruise ship in the world. Not terribly much in detail. We will see you all back here for a full dedicated episode coming soon. But what's important to know was the class division and the sinking itself. The Titanic was the jewel of White Star alongside her sister Olympia, and there are some conspiracies going on there. We'll talk about it more in the dedicated episode, but there is a theory that Olympia and Titanic were actually switched before the Titanic went out on that fated,
Switched
venture.
in what way?
That they were made to be nearly identical, and they changed basically like the name plates off of the two ships because the Olympia had technical issues before.
Okay.
So it's theorized that maybe they had switched the two for some reason. Maybe like, again, I'll have to do more research on that when we do a dedicated episode, but that is interesting to note.
Okay.
She was the largest passenger ship of her time, 883 feet in length, built in Belfast, Northern Ireland.
What?
She was a marvel of 1910s innovation, double-hulled with 16 watertight compartments. For all White Star did to advertise Titanic as the unsinkable marvel of the age, they did little in terms of safety due diligence. There were famously only half the needed lifeboats necessary for the entire ship, resulting in the tragically high death toll. On her maiden voyage, April 14th, 1912, Titanic struck an iceberg, side-sweeping the hull and breaching 5 of the compartments. The ship had been designed to stay afloat, with 4 of the compartments damaged.
Wow.
And the ship began sinking rapidly. At around 2:20 a.m., the ship broke in half, and 1,500 people lost their lives, either in the impact or in the freezing cold sea without a lifeboat.
There's no room for you. There was
Get the fuck off my plank, Jack!
There was so much room.
There was so much room on that goddamn plank, Rose.
I feel it, though. You like to travel in comfort.
Yeah, well...
That's why you were on the Titanic to begin with.
Well,
also, he was in steerage.
Sometimes, a summer fling is a summer fling, as I push Leonardo DiCaprio's head under the water. The Carpathia was the closest ship to the Titanic and famously broke its own speed record to make it to the Titanic's aid. They literally would, like, the passengers were throwing their stuff off the side of the Carpathia to make it as light as possible to get there as fast as possible.
Oh, that's nice.
It never ran or worked the same ever again. They worked that ship like it was a fucking NASCAR, like, race car.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. If you ever have moments like I certainly do, where you lose all plausible faith in humanity, watch a video about the Carpathia, and you will be surprised just how capable we are of certain things.
Nice.
Out of the original 2,208 passengers, the majority of deaths that occurred were made up of the third-class steerage men, while first-class American women and children had the highest survival rate. Yes, there is a racial disparity in the survivorship, and I know this because when I was in high school, I had to mathematically prove who was the most likely person to survive on the Titanic by going through every single passenger log.
That's incredible.
It took me all night, and that was one of the few math assignments that I still remember and actually enjoyed doing. And anybody who knows me knows I cannot do math. It is actually...
No, but you can do research.
That is true. I can research the hell out of shit. Ask me any sort of complex multiplication question, and I will cry a little bit.
Dude, same. I was an English major. I have like a fifth grade math level. I think I tried to do long division like a month ago, and I was like, yeah, that's not gonna fucking happen.
No. To be fair, though, when have we needed it?
I don't know.
I feel like I use geometry more than I do
Probably, yeah.
calculus, but hey. As a result of this tragedy, modern safety standards were introduced, strict regulations on the number of lifeboats, 24-hour radio, mandatory safety drills, and finally, the creation of the International Ice Patrol. I just really like them. They're fun. The organization responsible for monitoring icebergs and sending daily warnings to ships in the Atlantic to date.
Very cool.
There is actually a bunch of guys up in the Arctic who are on multiple ships basically being like, okay, guys, there's 6 icebergs right here, right here, right here. And I just think that's delightful.
Yeah, it is. Except it's all well and good until that thing from John Carpenter comes and gets them all.
Oh.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I have.
So good.
The effects make me very uncomfortable.
They were amazing.
They were amazing, which is why they made me uncomfortable.
I had just a quick little aside. I had a guy that I was dating, and he's like, "You have to see this movie. You have to watch it by yourself at night during a snowstorm."
What the fuck is wrong?
Lots was wrong with him, but he also thought that ethics were an impediment to progress. Okay, so yeah, but
Where
I
did
really
you find this guy?
AA. Yeah. So I loved the thing, and let's get back to cruises, shall we?
So the cruise liner was not unsinkable, but the public had yet to learn that they were also not invincible. War had come to Europe, and with the submarine attack on the Lusitania, not even cruise ships were safe. Owned by Cunard and originally launched as a mail ship in 1906, she became the largest luxury ocean liner at the time, and was sailing near the coast of Ireland, once again, when a German U-boat, U-20, struck it on May 7th, 1915. U-20 had fired a single torpedo at Lusitania. A mystery second explosion rocked the ship, and she sank in under 18 minutes.
Wow.
1,195 people died that night, including 128 Americans, critically shifting the global opinion of Germany during World War I. The U.S. wouldn't join World War I until 1917, but this event is largely credited with influencing that decision.
I bet it did.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
pretty pissed off, too.
Don't blow up our fucking boats.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this didn't really belong to us.
Yeah.
Okay. These events disrupted much of the new industry, and with the arrival of World War II, ships like the Queen Mary, 1936, Queen Elizabeth, 1940, were turned into hospital and warships. Queen Mary specifically has a long and storied history of not just being a luxury passenger ship, but its second life as the Grey Ghost. And we will tell you more right after the break.
Hi, Janet.
Oh, hi, Marge.
Janet, still on the monster hunt?
What do you think?
I think the boss has been looking for you all day. Something about the police wanting those monster stories 86. You've got the whole town in a panic.
We are coming to you live from Sticks and Stones in Fairfax. Your one-stop shop for all things metaphysical, woo-woo, witchy, pagan,
Occult.
We have crystals, candles. We have everything that you could possibly want to witchify your life. So come on in, stop and see us, get a reading from one of us or one of our friends, or attend one of our very many events.
I didn't hear you.
I said
I know what you said, but I didn't hear you.
All right, welcome back, folks. The Cunard Line had intended to name Job 534, the building project of the Queen Mary, a 9-story ship, the Victoria, until fate intervened. When a representative from the Cunard Line told King George V that they would be naming the ship after England's greatest queen, King George allegedly replied, "My wife will be delighted that you are naming the ship after her." And so, Job 534 was officially named the Queen Mary. I think that's very cute. I have no idea if this is 100% true, but very cute.
It is very cute.
Involved in one major collision with the USS Curacoa, where Queen Mary killed thousands of Curacoa's passengers. Nicknamed the Grey Ghost during the war as she had been painted entirely gray for camouflage, she was being escorted by the Curacoa in a zigzag pattern until the Queen Mary hit Curacoa. She was twice the size of the smaller ship and going twice the speed, and Curacoa was cut in half, trapping the crew inside. Queen Mary had such a reputation as a fast and deadly ship, Hitler himself put a bounty on it, though no one claimed it. Retired and docked in 1967 in Long Beach, California, Queen Mary carried 2.2 million people in her service, with 47 deaths occurring on board, and as many as 150 ghosts live inside the now hotel and tourist attraction.
Very cool.
We may do a solo episode on the Queen Mary and all of the different ghosts that live in there, because there are some that don't make sense. There are no passenger logs for them, and there are others where it was just brutal workplace accidents, really, really bad.
Interesting. So what these ones that don't make sense, what do we think that is? Is that some sort of portal or something?
That's what people think, is
Interesting.
basically that the ship, literally both murdered and witnessed so many deaths that it became some kind of weird vortex or
nice.
portal.
Like the Stanley Hotel in The Shining kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't like it. I don't want to be
it's
there.
not pleasant, but it's
but I like the
interesting.
theory, yeah.
The long and storied voyages of Queen Mary took her from the tumultuous early days of cruises to the golden age of maritime luxury. 1950, the war was over and people were beginning to take an entirely new form of transportation, the airplane. As such, people needed ships less and less for passenger travel, and companies had to figure out how to keep these ships from complete and total obsolescence. The modern cruise was born, massive passenger ships outfitted with the best and brightest of entertainment for guests aboard. One of the most famous was in 1950, when Cunard hosted the All-American Star Line with famous faces like Noel Coward, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, Elizabeth Taylor, Walt Disney, and Rita Hayworth on board to entertain.
It's pretty impressive.
That's... To put it in perspective for anybody that's not an old Hollywood fan, imagine if you were invited to go on a cruise with Justin Bieber, Brad Pitt, fucking
Johnny
Depp, and
I want to get off that ship already.
P&O began to focus on immigration to a brand new locale, Australia. P&O did the grand majority of these lines, and figures like Hugh Jackman and Kylie Minogue can actually trace their ancestry to these ships. From the 50s to the 70s, cruises became shorter, visiting warm and tropical locales, and with the change in itinerary came new brands to capitalize on the market. Princess Cruises was the most famous of the newcomers, with an ad ran in the 70s that boosted the public's interest in taking a vacation seaward. Then came Norwegian Cruises, Royal Caribbean, and of course, the infamous Carnival Cruises.
Ugh.
The white trash cousin. From the 80s to today, cruises have never been bigger or more popular, and it is no longer restricted to us third-class passengers. The Atlantic crossing that once took 2 months now takes less than a week.
Wow.
However, with more and more people taking cruises and more money put into the creation of bigger and better ships, more attention is cast into the mysterious happenings on board, and the maritime resorts start to morph into nautical prisons. And with that, I will hand us over to our very first story. Sarah?
Yes. First, and as far as I'm concerned, last. Although I do want to get into the poop cruise.
The poop cruise is really funny.
We're getting into that, right?
We're getting into the poop cruise.
Okay, cool. All right. So there has recently been a Netflix documentary called Amy Bradley is Missing, and I wanted to touch on that because I want to show a little bit of like, even under the best of circumstances, like things can go horrifically wrong on a cruise. You know, this was a cruise that was supposed to be safe. This was a cruise that was supposed to be a fun, little diversion for her and her family. She had a great, loving family. Woman disappeared on a cruise ship. So let me get into it.
Yep.
Amy was a recent graduate of Longwood College with a very close relationship with her family, upper middle class Virginia family in the 90s, which is basically where I come from. So it kind of hit home with me. Thinking about my parents grieving me if I had gone missing, that kind of messed me up a little bit. Said family won a contest at work that rewarded them with a cruise in the spring of 1998. Amy, her brother Brad, and her parents went on a 7-day cruise out of Puerto Rico. Amy didn't return. Amy went out that early spring night with the family, had a few, 7, but who's counting? That's a Tuesday for me. Beers, and went to a disco where she was spotted dancing with one of the cruise band members, Alistair Yellow Douglas, nicknamed Yellow because he dyed his hair yellow. She and her brother returned to the room they shared with their parents. Their father saw her on the balcony, where she had gone feeling sick to get air at one point in the night, but she was gone when he checked back in the wee hours of the morning. 2 18-year-old girls saw them together at around 6 a.m. They saw Amy in a glass elevator with Yellow. Then about 10 minutes later saw Yellow return to the deck by himself. Eyewitnesses are not infallible. So anytime that we start talking about any kind of crime stuff, you have to take all of that with a major grain of salt.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on vacation and it's 6 a.m, like timelines can get really fuzzy.
And you be seeing random people and think something is significant. That can very much be the case.
Exactly. But they did see him return to the deck by himself, they said. And at that point, they had probably had a very long night, but anything is possible. So it does point to some interesting theories about what happened on that ginormous floating ship. So when Amy's father couldn't find her in the morning, he asked the boat, which was about to dock in Curacao, to make a loudspeaker announcement that Amy had gone missing. The dickhead cruise director on the documentary said that they refused to do this as it would alarm all of the patrons who had paid money to be there.
I would certainly hope it would alarm them. Someone on your fucking ship is missing.
Yeah, I mean, horrific. I mean, and the guy was just like, well, cruises go on. Life goes on. I mean, these people paid money to be there. And I'm like, you
and
have no,
so did we.
You have no soul. You have no soul.
Seriously.
Yeah. So business is business, and the cruise business, as we've discussed, is disgusting. By the time the boat did what they called a bomb threat check, when 800 people supposedly searched the entire boat, the room where the Bradleys had stayed in had been thoroughly cleaned and furniture moved. So any kind of evidence that would have been left there was not
Which is like, that is like rule number 1 is don't touch the fucking crime scene.
Exactly. I mean, it's insane. So the table on the balcony had been moved. The railing was high. It was like around... one of the investigators that eventually came on the ship said that he was 6 feet tall and it was up to basically his chest.
Okay.
So it was pretty high up for someone to just fall.
Yeah.
There was a table, like a little balcony table that was pushed up against the side of it, but everything had been moved. So they don't know if it was.
So who knows if it was there?
Exactly. Her shoes were out there, but we don't know. So while the table on the balcony had been moved to the high railing, the table might not have been put there by Amy. If it was, it would point to Amy jumping. But here we are. I am not of the opinion that she killed herself, and here's why. So the documentary mentions that Amy was gay. And although she was close with her parents, they went through a phase where they were not necessarily really great with that news.
Right.
It was the 90s, which I remember as a time of being like rapid fire kind of tolerance increasing, but not in all cases.
Yeah. Where are they from?
They're from Virginia.
From Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, upper middle class Virginia family.
Northern?
Chesterfield.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
okay.
exactly where that is, but
I guess I don't know.
Virginia's kind of no man's land when it comes to this stuff. Like, you get any
really
kind of
is.
opinion.
It really, really is. Depending on where you go, you can have like wildly different social opinions.
Yeah.
But my only concern with that is because I grew up in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is culturally like 20 years behind the rest of the country.
Yeah. Well, so
some of the feelings around queer people, I expect were similar.
When her parents had this notion of disappointment or whatever you want to call it, which
Sure.
I think they very much regret now, but it was a couple years before she went missing, and I think they had time to kind of make some peace with it.
Yeah, they probably processed it.
Yeah.
And it was probably like, oh, we're not going to get grandkids kind of thing. And then they chilled out about it.
Exactly. So if you watch the footage of Amy, she's very bubbly and boisterous, and that doesn't necessarily mean that she didn't kill herself, because people can put on acts and shows and everything.
Certainly fucking can.
However, she had just gotten a new job, just graduated from college, just gotten a new dog. Like, she was very close with her family and friends. Like, she seemed on this video, like, I mean, all of the footage of her, she's just this bubbly, boisterous, kind of happy person. So if the railing would have prevented her from falling and she didn't end her life, what happened? Said Dickhead cruise director says he heard a rumor that Amy was bragging that she was such a good athlete that she could beat the boat to Curacao. This seems fucking ludicrous.
That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, and talk about trying to cover your ass in a way that is so stupid. Also, the locals in Curacao said that she could not have been in the sea because the currents were so strong that something of Amy would have washed up on the shores, that this was somehow impossible.
Yeah.
So I don't know the physics of all that, but people that live there are like, she could not have gone into the water.
Yeah.
Because we would have found something, a watch, something.
I agree. I mean, yeah, especially so close to the shore, you would find like something.
Yeah. So if she didn't jump or fall, she either walked off the boat of her own accord. A witness came forward years later to say that he met Amy in a brothel, and she said, according to him, that she had left the boat to get drugs and was kidnapped ashore. Her parents didn't believe this happened. That's another thing too, where it's kind of like, well, your parents want to think the best of you. They don't want to think you walked off the... Yeah.
That's the problem, man. Yeah. Because I know you're going to talk about this in a second. I really think she was trafficked.
I do too, and I hope that she wasn't.
I sincerely hope she wasn't, but this reeks of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, this man that came forward, he was in the Navy or the Marines. I can't remember which one, but he was in the armed forces, and he didn't report it at the time because he didn't want to be demoted, because he wasn't supposed to be in a brothel. So he waited like years to do this. So they couldn't corroborate.
Shithead.
Yeah, couldn't corroborate everything. Like, yeah, glad that your career went so well. But it is interesting that he did say that she actually went to him and said, my name is Amy Bradley. People are looking for me. I walked off the boat and they kidnapped me and I owe them $200. And he's like, well, I didn't really believe her at the time because, women will say anything if they're, sex workers to get money. And it's like, thanks, dude. Okay. Just sex work is real work. Okay.
First of all, yes. And also, if I was a prostitute in a brothel, I don't think I'm going to use a missing persons case as a part of my shtick.
Yeah, exactly. But, people are weird. Okay. The last theory is that she was kidnapped aboard and smuggled off in some sort of container. So if Yellow was involved, he was staff, and he could have pulled this off because she was very petite.
Mm-hmm.
She was very strong. She was an athlete. She was I think she had a scholarship to Longwood playing basketball.
Wow.
And she was very, very, athletic and strong and could put up a fight, but she was very tiny and could fit into places.
Sure.
So several witnesses claim that they saw Amy in various islands like Curacao and Barbados. And some adult-only company posted scanty pictures of a woman who the FBI claimed could have been Amy. Had they have had jurisdiction to arrest Yellow, they would have. His polygraph was inconclusive, but they had strong suspicions. So there was this whole thing that happened with like the breakdown of law and order, because basically you're at
you're at sea.
You're at sea.
No one is coming to help you.
Exactly. The people that are there that are in charge of security were hired by the cruise line, so they're there to kind of
exactly. That's not an unbiased party.
And then you've got to wait until you're out of international waters to get the FBI involved.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, so much has fallen through the cracks that it's almost impossible to figure out what happened.
It's not like the Coast Guard is equipped for this.
Exactly. So Yellow emphatically denies any involvement with Amy beyond dancing with her. There is video evidence that he did.
That's the only thing that confuses me is you're allowed to dance with whoever you want, even if you're gay, but why is she dancing with a man?
Well, I mean, it was the 90s. I think what I've learned from Amy
was she bisexual?
I don't know.
Who knows? None of our business functionally, but
exactly. So there's that, and there's also the fact that I think that she was kind of like a life of the party person that just danced and drank.
Just having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I've danced with women, and I consider myself straight.
Sure. I mean, I do both, but I'm also interested in both. I just don't know how strict of a protocol it was in the 90s.
Yeah, I think it would have been shocking in the 90s if she was on this cruise that was primarily filled with older people
and
she
dancing
was
with ladies.
Yeah,
exactly. That's fair.
And probably there might not have been another out lesbian on the boat as well.
Very sad, but yes.
So so Yellow emphatically denies any involvement with Amy beyond dancing with her. His key card records place him in his cabin at 3:30 a.m. The records only record when guests enter a cabin, not when they leave. So there was not enough evidence to give the FBI jurisdiction to override. About 19 years after Amy went missing, Douglas's daughter, Douglas's daughter, contacted the Bradleys, stating that she thinks her dad had involvement, and that at one point his wife had found a litany of photos of Caucasian women in his luggage that he couldn't explain. In this documentary, his daughter called him on camera and asked him about the case. He once again denied involvement, but interestingly enough said that it wasn't possible that an eyewitness saw him with Amy on the beach, as he hated the beach. What? No. Sorry, honey. That is not a good enough excuse.
Honey,
no.
Why are your lies just worse every
Try
time you
harder.
ask about it? Oh my God.
Also, his daughter remembers spending lots of time with him on the beach as she was growing up. So with the advent of the internet, Amy's case garnered new interest. Facebook groups were formed, and an activist in Australia noticed that online photos of Amy's family were searched on birthdays and holidays by certain IP addresses and stayed on the pages for extended periods of time. The FBI did not figure out who these addresses belonged to. Again, I think legal jurisdiction reasons. It's very hard to...
I think there's... I don't know, guys. Post-Patriot Act, it's really weird to tell the legality of certain surveillance and stripping certain IP addresses. So
thanks a lot, Cheney.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it there.
Whatever happened to Amy, her family is devastated and keeps the home fires burning, and I send them lots of love and energy that Amy returns home one day. I wanted to bring up Amy's case because it's both fascinating and indicative of the way cruise ships can skirt legal trouble and how they possibly cover up crimes to avoid scandal. The cruise line failed the Bradleys when it refused to send out an alert in a timely fashion, lock the boat down, and by cleaning the room before it could be searched for evidence.
Most certainly.
Yeah. The cruise director in the documentary seemed pathologically heartless towards the family, dismissed any theory other than suicide or accident out of hand, and showed that he and his employers favored the bottom line over the general human decency that a rigorous investigation would have shown. Personally, I don't know what happened to Amy, but I don't think it was suicide. While some people are incredibly good at hiding their pain, her lack of at least a note to the family or any of her friends, none of whom believed she had ever been suicidal, makes me think that it was not probably that. The eyewitnesses are interesting to me, but not necessarily stone-cold evidence. I do, however, find the cruise director's attitude cavalier as hell, and who might have put anything past big business. So, what do you think, Tara? I used to joke that I'm married to the sea, but at the moment, I kind of want a divorce.
You are Ernest Hemingway. The Old Man in the Sea is about you and your relationship to cruises.
I really hate being compared to Hemingway. I mean, God. Yeah. Okay.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I feel like more people read more of Ernest Hemingway's works. Most people just read The Great Gatsby.
Yeah. If you're talking about back to our Fitzgerald versus Hemingway
Yep.
cage match.
But regardless, I unfortunately very much think that Yellow probably trafficked her.
Yeah.
And I sincerely hope that's not the case, but that very much seems likely.
There were several people on Curacao that did say that they saw her. There was a taxi driver that said that he saw her and that she was asking for a phone call. The family went to look for her on Curacao. One of the things they were talking about in the documentary that was just so heartbreaking was they were talking about how they basically asked the crews to do their due diligence and they refused. And then they were like, you should probably just go home because you're not going to feel very good going to these other ports that we have to go to with everybody celebrating. And so they had to fly home and they felt like they were abandoning her. It was so sad.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, it was so sad. And I really feel for them. So
I really hope that their family has found some sort of peace, and if they're still looking for her, I hope that it's successful because that is really sad, and I hope Amy is still alive and doing the best that she can.
Absolutely. Sending out love that way.
Yeah.
On the plus side, you want to talk about the poop cruise?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So this is a bit of a summary for you guys. But the poop cruise refers to the infamous February 2013 Carnival Triumph cruise ship.
It's a Triumph, all right.
Then engine room fire disabled the ship's power and propulsion in the Gulf of Mexico. That's right. I'm not changing it. Leaving over 4,000 passengers stranded without working plumbing, air conditioning, or standard food service for 4 days as it was towed to Mobile, Alabama?
Sure.
Basically, all of the electric toilets failed, causing raw sewage to overflow into cabins and hallways, forcing passengers to basically, use red biohazard bags everywhere.
To poop into.
It was ridiculous. The ship drifted for days before being towed ashore, leading to widespread media coverage and, of course, basically a PR nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, in June 2025, a documentary released by Netflix.
So it's interesting because I really kind of dug the tone of that documentary. People had a real sense of humor about it after the fact,
Yeah.
At the time,
what else are you going to do, man? I was on a ship that had such a bad fire that we all had to shit in biohazard bags until we were towed to fuck-ass Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it was the way it kind of became a little bit Lord of the Flies. There was one woman who reported that there was people having sex
I was gonna say fucking no, there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because as far as they were concerned, there probably wasn't.
Which reminds me of what I did on 9/11. But anyway, back to the story at hand. There was also this time period where they decided to open up the bar.
Oh yeah, baby.
It's just
just every bad decision plausibly could have been made was made.
So I really like my land lover vacations, I think, after that, because the poop cruise did sound. I mean, it's a really funny doc. It's really gross.
It's foul.
But but I did really enjoy it, actually. Surprisingly enough, I just didn't really want to eat after it.
No, I can't recommend that's not a movie and dinner, folks. That's not even a bathroom watch.
Exactly.
Now then, back to the present-day state of the cruise. In a very recent investigation, 27 crew members across various different lines, including Disney, were found to be consuming child pornography, and said members were promptly deported. And I quote the CBS article, they were involved in either the receipt, possession, transportation, distribution, or viewing of CSEM or child pornography.
CSEM is a child sexually explicit material.
Yep.
We say that because pornography implies consent.
Correct.
So.
There is no such thing as child pornography. There is no child porn star. That is not a decision.
Yeah.
that their visas were canceled and then they were immediately deported to their home countries. What few people may know about is the sheer level of exploitation happening on these cruises, and not just, involving CSEM. Most of the staff that are on any given cruise ship are from incredibly poor countries sending money back to their families. The Philippines, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, and Eastern Europe are the most common countries from which staff are hired. Some regular goers know all about the cruise lifestyle, but unless you board on yourself, you may not know how life on board one of these ships goes. So let's take you through it. When you first board the ship, you are told to place all of your belongings in front of your door to be searched for contraband such as liquor, drugs, etc. Your suitcase is then taken, searched, refolded, and returned to your door 2 to 4 hours later. I don't like that shit. I'm not going to bring cocaine on the ship, man. You don't have to steal my stuff and make sure of that.
You're not going to find my copy of DVD of Cocktail starring Tom Cruise.
There you go. Door decorations are an entire subculture inside ships, where people decorate their stateroom doors like it's a college dorm. There are rules as to what you cannot put up, and that does include pineapples.
Why pineapples?
Pineapples are a symbol of swingers.
You have to ruin everything, swingers.
I'm sorry, man. Listen, I don't care if y'all get busy on boats, but
maybe have like a separate cruise for that. How does that sound? And
busy on boats. Yeah. Orgy cruise. Orgy cruise lines coming soon.
Coming soon.
Oh, gross.
All right, continue. Enough frivolity.
Your Wi-Fi is absolute shit unless you are at a port. You might enjoy the cozy living room-sized room that you rented, but not before you're pulled into what's called a mustard drill. Remember the Titanic? These drills were born from that disaster, and you are instructed to come to a designated area in a life vest, and you are walked through every safety protocol, which lifeboat would be yours in case of sinking, and everything that could go wrong functionally with the ship in morbid and graphic detail.
Yeah. I also want to note, and I don't know if you made note of this yourself, but when you signed a waiver, I think it's changed now since so many things have gone wrong.
Right.
But you used to sign a waiver basically being like, this cruise line does not vouch for my safety. It does not vouch for
No, they still make you sign that shit.
Okay, cool.
No.
Yeah. So it's like safety, cleanliness, efficacy of the ship, all of that stuff is basically signed away.
Yeah. There's a lot of waivers and legal shit involved. These ships are not just floating hotels, but more like mobile countries. The vibe you select has everything to do with the quality of your vacation. Every part of your stay is curated and monitored from the start. Staff are trained to watch your behaviors, what games you play, events you attend, and most importantly, what you buy. They will learn your name and pull you back into a bar, karaoke, auction, whatever, to keep making money off of you. Cruises are not just limited to dining and poolside fun. There are also casinos, movie theaters, spas, live music, galas, art auctions, and more. The casino also closes when at port due to local regulations around gambling, which I think is really funny. As such, Carnival Cruises actually has its reputation as a booze cruise due to its long voyages in international waters. So individuals who could not legally drink in their home countries for whatever reason now can and voraciously do. Forced fun is the name of the game, and privacy is basically non-existent. Even at dinner, you will be paired off with strangers at your table because more asses and seats is more people to make money off of. Feeling seasick? Well, you're in luck. There's precisely 1 to maybe 3, on really big ships, doctors on board. And a fully stocked over-the-counter pharmacy for you to buy Dramamine or its roofie sister, scopolamine.
Dramamine itself is kind of roofie-ish. I used to take it for fun. Yeah.
I can't imagine that's a pleasant experience for the people who have told me about taking seasickness medication when they needed it, but all right.
Yep.
One of these days, I'm gonna pull up the FDA's like list of chemicals and drugs and just be like, so which ones haven't you done?
It is a shorter list.
It's okay. Some people wear electroshock bands on their wrists that send pulses to the nerve, like that controls like the balance issue that makes you seasick itself. Major medical emergencies are handed over to the Coast Guard, usually picking up the individual by helicopter. Oh, you died. Well, that's all right. Your ship is likely retrofitted with a standard morgue for your convenience. Most major cruise ships are equipped with onboard morgues, which are hidden on the lowest decks and used to store deceased passengers until the ship reaches a port where the body can be returned to the family. I believe some ships also have crematoriums, though that is much, much rarer.
That is one fucked up cruise.
Yeah. These refrigerated steel or stainless steel rooms typically hold between 4 and 10 bodies. Because a ship may be days away from port, handling a death at sea requires specific operational protocols, though some cruise lines have faced public scrutiny, including wrongful death lawsuits, over allegations that bodies were improperly placed in walk-in food refrigerators when onboard morgues were full.
Oh, this gives me the chills. That is so gross.
That is fucking nasty, man. I could be served a tomato right next to Cousin Jim, who passed of a heart attack 4 minutes ago. Waste management has been the longest maritime travel issue, and cruises have been in a lot of hot water before, often dumping all of their waste into the water for it to end up back on shore, destroying everything in its path. Princess Cruise had to pay $140 million, and Carnival Cruises a smaller amount. Now, many Carnival cruises have state-of-the-art waste machines. Separate teams separate items, glass, plastic, and etc., to decide what will be incinerated and what will be recycled, though not all ships claim to be zero landfill. Upselling is the cruise gambit. They Trojan horse you on board with cheap tickets and milk you for the rest. The average cruise costs you under $500 with the right tricks, about $1,000 on average. But the cruise line is the one who really rakes it in. Carnival Cruises generated $26.6 billion last year.
Wow.
The cruise line industry reported $72.5 billion in revenue.
In 1 year.
In 1 year.
Wow.
It takes about $1 million a day to run a single ship, $165 million to build one, 2,400 employees, 33,000 meals a day, running like clockwork in lower decks, serving the wealthiest travelers on the planet, Americans. Cruise lines also pay less than 1% on their taxes by incorporating in places like Liberia, Panama, or Malta. And of course, exploiting their labor, usually, as I said before, hiring from places with next to no labor laws and working these people 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can't leave. They're in the middle of the ocean. Who's going to stop them? It's international waters, and the pirates just handed you a $40 pina colada and tickets to a live production of Hairspray. What do you care? What are you going to do about it, pussy?
Yeah. Incidentally, I have to say, when it comes to Hairspray, I much prefer the John Waters original to
It's a lot better.
Disneyfied nonsense that they put out.
No.
John Travolta.
John Travolta freaks me out.
Even under the best of circumstances, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, those questions of like, if you were in a room with 6 men and you felt safe, who would those men be? John Travolta is like at the bottom of my list. There's a lot of other people that are at the bottom too. It's like a nice swimming pool in hell.
I don't find him threatening. I just find him to be a Scientologist.
Yeah, and I find that threatening. Eventually, they came up with a way to get around this problem. They came up with the idea of turning one of the private islands that the company, specifically Royal Caribbean, owned into a stop and into a resort. So now your money is never out of their hands, or even going to disenfranchised island nations. Communities in these nations became so fed up with tourism that they refused cruise after cruise, making the ownership of an island a fiscal necessity. Not only native resistance, but maritime law prohibits them as well. The PVSA, Passenger Vessel Services Act of 1886, introduced to U.S. maritime law by President Grover Cleveland, a foreign ship cannot dock between two U.S. ports without some non-U.S. stop in between. This was originally, don't yawn, this is interesting. This was originally to protect the U.S.'s trade prospects, but it forces cruise companies to comply with the law and to buy their own island to get around it. Now, I have spent a great deal of time telling you about the horrors of cruises, but they are also, admittedly, one of the most accessible ways for disabled people to experience vacations at all. Planes are a nightmare for wheelchair users. But on a finite boat where everything is meant to be as generically fun and as available and accessible as possible, it's a great option for older and physically disabled individuals. And it sucks that this option is this ethically fraught for these people. But the long and storied history of cruises has not ended today, and it shall not end in the future. And this show is not meant to completely and entirely deter you from going, but certainly to make you understand that that is not an innocent little ride that you're on. So, how do we feel?
Kissing the ground, baby.
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
Yep, I never have, never want to, never will go on a cruise, and I'm okay with that.
I love the sea, but I think there's something about the fact that, like, monkey brain really triggers when you can't see your feet in the water anymore.
Yes.
And maybe we should have taken that seriously.
Yes, and also think about the humanity of being with that many people. Just like, I mean, I'm an extrovert, right? And I actually love people. I thrive in the setting that we have at work because I love talking to people and being around people most of the time.
Yeah.
I still don't want to be around several thousand people on a boat.
No.
It sounds like a fucking nightmare.
I am an introvert, and that actually sounds like hell. The fact that the one place I can escape to, which is my hotel room, is designed to basically be as, like, necessity as possible so that you don't spend any time in there is part of it. I don't think any part of the cruise line was designed for little old me, and that's fucking fine with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as like the deaths and everything go, it's not like an epidemic of what's happening.
No, this is not common.
But there are people that are kind of trying to fight for more security and safety regulations, and nonprofits doing that work to try to get this up a little bit,
to have better international labor laws. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope there to be fair skies, a red sun in the morning, and a sailor's warning. Good night.
Good night.
That was one of the most enjoyable half hours I've ever spent.
Oh, well, Vera, how could you?
Poor Ruth.